Hey there, good morning everyone. Tuesday, the 25th of July, 2023. This morning's devotional is reading from the first book of Peter, chapter 3, verse 8, which reads, "Finally, all of you, be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate and humble." For those who can remember many years ago when we were all younger, many of us are still young at heart, but I'm talking physically as well. There was a thing that came to town, it was called the circus. And if you remember, it was a huge tent. It used to come once a year, maybe if you were lucky, twice a year. And this was a grand event for the entire town to come out and see. You had the clowns, you had the lions, you had the tigers, you had the seals, you had the elephants, you had the horses, and even the dogs. And you had the ringmaster, and you also, right at the top of the tent, on two little swings, three swings or whatever, you had these brave people called trapeze artists. They were flying high up in the sky there between the swings. And every time they do something silly, and you hear everybody in the audience go, gasping and sitting on the edge of their seat. But that was just to keep us on the edge of our seat. But then if you looked closer to the ground, on the ground, there was a little thing called a safety net, which no one ever really paid any attention to. But it's an important thing because it served to catch the trapeze artists should they have really missed their grip on that swing and come tumbling down to the ground. So at a quick glance, the net looks flimsy but not very strong, but it was strong enough to catch anybody that really fell. And it was placed very strategically under the swings, not on one side of the tent, in the hope that the trapeze artists didn't use it. Where am I going with this? We all need a net to catch us up at some time in life. You know, life is difficult and tragedies happen, and each of us will face them at some stage in our lives. But we need not go through them alone. The safety net for us is God. The safety net that God gives us is the community of believers around us. Those people who are so committed and dedicated to each other in the name of Christ, serving each other. That is a group of a community of believers. And we are reminded in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 26, it says, if one part of the body suffers, every part suffers with it. And you can just think about it. If you stub your toe or hurt your finger or something like that, it doesn't just stay there. It goes, every part is crying out with pain. And community is God's answer to despair, to trouble, where people come together and stand united. Romans chapter 12, verse 15 reminds us, rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. Now, the first part of the verse is easy. We all like to rejoice and join a party when things are going well with others. The second part sounds difficult, but actually it's not. It's actually just as easy as the first part. Because when you're going through a crisis, you don't want advice. That's the last thing you need. And that's a problem that many have, is we give advice. You don't want advice. You don't want those words of wisdom. You just want, when you're going through troubles or whatever, just for someone to be there, to sit there, to make a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or something like it, just so that you can sit in silence and possibly even so that you're able to cry with them, a shoulder to cry on. Paul reminds us as well in 1 Corinthians chapter 5, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 11, it says, therefore encourage one another and build each other up. Encouraging doesn't always mean having to give a pep talk or an encouraging talk. Encouraging is also just sometimes being there in silence so that your friend knows that you are there for them. My dear friends, do you have a safety net? If not, go out and be intentional about building those real, safe friendships. The times in life are hard, and we know we will go through them all, but we don't have to go through them unprepared. May the Lord be with you. May He bless you. May He cause His face to shine upon you and be with you always. Goodbye.